Now, I had mentioned in an earlier video that I was going to try and do some repairs on the old kind of decrepit greenhouse that we have here. Actually, I shouldn't say old, it isn't that old. And some people had asked for me to show you what I was doing. So I thought I would show you a little bit about what I'm up to and what my thought process is on trying to get this greenhouse back in shape, and talk a little bit about the greenhouse itself and why it might have been a mistake to buy this particular greenhouse. Now, this little greenhouse was purchased as a kit. I found it on eBay. It was something like $250, maybe $300, including shipping. So it seemed like a pretty good deal. It's 8 feet long, 6 feet wide, and it's about 4 feet tall to the sidewalls here. Just big enough to get in and work in. And we put it up about 2 years ago. I think almost exactly 2 years ago. It was in April, I think. It went together okay. It was a little bit weird, a little bit fiddly to get all the little parts together and figure out how everything was supposed to work. But then a few days after we got it assembled, the wind came up, not too bad, but a little bit, and blew some of these panels out. These are kind of corrugated polycarbonate panels, are kind of lightweight. And we were able to find the panels laying out there in the bushes, and we put them back in. Then we ran silicone around all of the edges, inside and out. After doing that, it really held up to the wind pretty darn well, and we were able to grow some of the best tomato plants we've ever grown at this altitude before, because tomatoes usually don't do real well in Beulah. But having the greenhouse made a big difference in that, and it was really nice to have that first year. Now, it took a little bit of a beating the next winter. Some of the panels started coming loose again. Some of them started to crack a little bit under the snow load and after being out in the sun for a while. And we didn't plant anything in it at all last year, not only because it was a little bit beat up, but also because we were going to be out of town for much of the summer and just didn't think trying to maintain a greenhouse was going to work real well. Which turns out to really be a good idea, because over the summer the wind blew some more, we had some hail, and now we're actually missing some of the panels in the roof. Some of these are gone. These all have holes in them. They're just full of hail holes, and they're just barely even holding up. And they probably aren't going to last much longer. So instead of just tearing it down and scrapping it, the sidewalls are still in good shape and the frame is still relatively solid. So what I decided to do is just frame over the roof, and on this side I'm taking it all the way to the ground to give us another little planting area just outside the greenhouse. It's just 2x4s attached to the inside, and I'll show you how I'm doing that. Then I'm using a clear polycarbonate panel that I got at Metal Mart. This says it's called SunSky corrugated polycarbonate sheet, and it should be better than the original corrugated panels here, even though it won't have any of the insulating value those did. But I think it'll hold up better, and at the very least it should get us through this year. But I'm going to try and reinforce this well enough that it should last for a couple of years. I don't want this to just be a one-year repair. I'm hoping to be able to use it more. So if you're looking for a little greenhouse, these bargain kits, I think they sell them very similar at Harbor Freight. They sell them at eBay. Various garden centers probably sell one that's, for all practical purposes, exactly like this. I would say if you live in an area that has wind, hail, or really intense sunshine, lots of UV, this probably isn't the way to go. If you live someplace where it's kind of cloudy most of the time, the wind doesn't blow much, you've got a sheltered backyard, maybe it's not such a bad deal. It did work and it was kind of nice to have, but not worth the trouble to put it up just for 1 year. So I'm hoping we can get some more usable life out of it. Now, one problem with what I'm doing here is that I can't really crawl out on top of this to put all the screws in, and it's kind of hard to get to the ridge there. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. One thing, these panels would not support my weight, and while my new framing might support my weight, I don't know if the old greenhouse would. But I'm sure if I persevere, we'll figure it out. Now on this other side, because we've got some low planters that are outside that we'll put some things in that just don't really need to be in the greenhouse, this will only be roofed over this much. So it'll be a little bit easier to get to and a lot less stuff to worry about putting up. But it doesn't have the extra support that the ground does. But that extra bracing all the way to the ground, I've got some 6x6 timbers staked down. That should really help hold that side down and stabilize the whole thing, both in the wind and in the snow. Now on the inside, I've been using a combination of screws right through the metal framing where it's suitable, but these center ones have a rib and there's just not enough room there to really get a screw into these framing members. So for these, I've been using just little conduit clamps, and the conduit clamps seem to lock in very nicely right here to the center ridge. And that makes a nice, tight, secure connection. But where I do have enough material to get right in here tight, I'm just using sheet metal screw right through the material and screwing that into the bottom of the 2x4, and I'm hoping that is plenty of attachment. It does mean if my new roof wants to blow off, it's taking the whole greenhouse with it, but I think it's going to be solid enough that we should be able to get away with it. Well, I can reach this side, so this is all fastened down and ready to go. There'll probably be a little bit more work to do before we're all done, but it's not going to blow off in the meantime. Now on the other side, I did put one more purlin or horizontal board in to help support the greenhouse material, and I think I'm going to double these up. I'm going to go between these spaces, so I need 3 more boards. But I don't have those on hand unless I do some really good scrounging, and I may have something kind of odd and be able to make do. We're kind of in Depression era thinking right now, so I don't have to go to town and go to the lumber yard, because that wouldn't be good social distancing. But for now, I'm going to make sure I've got all the screws in here that I need to keep this good and secure. Then there's still going to be more work inside, cleaning up the mess that's left from previous year's planting, get this outside prep, get the whole thing done, put some of this stuff like the water tank you saw is going to sit outside this edge, and that kind of helps buffer this end a little bit. And if we have extra water this year, we'll pump water into that. That'll be a good place to store a few hundred gallons just to have for the greenhouse. So for those of you who are asking, that's all I've got to say on this topic. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button down there. Feel free to stick around, watch a few of the other videos. I've got lots of projects to work on and hopefully some fun stuff to do in the upcoming weeks. So I hope to see you back here for the next one. Bye for now.